Good evening, everyone. I'm Denise D'Ascenzo. It's not often that Paul Newman gives interviews, but I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with the famous actor. He invited us to meet him in Westport, his hometown, because he has a special project. It's his camp for terminally ill children he has established in conjunction with Yale New Haven Hospital. To make it happen, he has to raise money from the public, corporations, his fans. So we talked. In the next half hour, you'll join me in that conversation about his reasons for starting the project, about his latest movie, his long-standing marriage, his auto racing. It's a rare look at one of America's most famous and popular actors. Now, you're not going to see Fast Eddie Felson, Butch Cassidy, Hud, or any of his other characters. You will meet a modest man who values his privacy, but who indeed has strong opinions and interesting comments. We begin our talk with how the idea of the camp came about.
I don't think it came about at any particular moment. It's kind of like a great acting experience, the community experience, and you never know where the idea gets started, and then all of a sudden you just see it on film and it's on there. And it just, my father died when he was 57 from cancer, and my mother died from cancer, and I've lost some friends along the way. And when I passed my 60th birthday, I reminded myself that was quite a privilege. And imagine, and I thought back and thought, well, if you're 8 years old and it's right down the pipe, then you don't have that opportunity. And I don't know, it was just something that happened one morning. And
how long ago was that?
well, I think it's been gelling for a couple of years now.
What will it be like? Describe it for us.
Well, in doing my homework, I was bewildered by the kind of hospital atmosphere in some of these places that are supposed to be outdoors, and I knew right away that wasn't going to work. And I went back in my head to the Hole in the Wall gang from Butch Cassidy, and even I remember my camp experiences, which were way back in the Stone Age. You weren't even born then, but and I remembered how special that was because it was of the period, and this is going to be closer to a turn of the century Oregon lumber camp than it's going to be to anything that anybody's ever seen before.
Western decor.
Well, it's going to have the smell of the West to it, yeah.
The camp, called Hole in the Wall Gang, will be located on 300 acres in northeastern Connecticut on the Ashford-Eastford town line. Planned in cooperation with Yale New Haven Hospital, the camp is designed to offer desperately ill children a camping experience once reserved only for healthy kids. In Ashford, initial reaction is mixed.
I'm just proud that he's even coming to this town.
That's a tax-free proposition. We're going to lose taxes on that property, for one thing, and I still have to know from the selectmen or what, how we're going to benefit by it.
How do you respond to some Ashford residents who are concerned that they're going to lose property taxes on the sale of this land and the land being used as a camp? What would you say to them?
Well, I'll say that they'll not only get it back in if not more in terms of actual dollars, but in terms of a sense of community pride, I don't even think that's measurable.
There are a lot of charities that are looking for money, and there are some charities who say, why don't you give to us and we'll put that money into research so we can find a cure for these diseases. What kind of argument would you make that there is really a need for a camp for kids who are terminally ill?
I don't think you can pump more money into research right now. It's like, well, you find in some cases that money is simply thrown at a problem. Money now, in the enforcement aspect, is being thrown at the drug problem. I don't think that money that's being thrown in that direction is going to be very effective, but that's another story. There is no facilities now, permanent facilities for children with life-threatening diseases. That's out there to be developed and to be pursued and experimented with.
Why Connecticut?
I live here. It's my home. I live here, I live in New York, but I really live in Connecticut.
And Connecticut is home base for Newman's fundraising efforts. Half the $8 million cost of the camp is coming from the profits of Newman's Own, salad dressing, popcorn, and spaghetti sauce, a food line the actor says he started on a whim.
Whenever I get restless, I try to keep myself off balance, and I thought that getting into the food bottling business was about as I don't know, there was something deliciously tacky and irreverent about putting my face on a bottle of salad dressing. And of course, the only way that the two of them would work together is if whatever proceeds they were. And at that time, I think we thought that there'd be about $30 at the end of the year that we would give that money to some local charity or something. And
it was back in 1982 when Newman and Westport neighbor, author A.E. Hotchner, began the venture. It's now turned into a booming business. Newman's Own has generated $9 million in profits, and all of it goes to charities. The Hole in the Wall Gang camp will get $4 million. In order to proceed, Newman by law must raise another $4 million from individual and corporate sources.
I'm in an unusual and uncomfortable position of going out and hustling for things and for asking for contributions from foundations and from corporations and from individuals, which is something that it is a new experience for me, and I guess I'll like it when I see the camp. I'll like it better when I see the camp.
The Hustler in real life in
The
1986.
hustler in real life, yes. I would rather do it with a pool cue.
Newman does take pool cue in hand in his brand new movie. We'll talk about the return of the Hustler when we come back. Paul Newman has made 47 movies. He's been nominated for the Academy Award 6 times. Last year, he received an honorary Oscar recognizing his career, something he was tempted not to accept. His movie characters stay with us. Cool Hand Luke, Michael Gilbert, who beats the press at its own game in Absence of Malice, and the alcoholic lawyer Frank Galvin in The Verdict. His roles are carefully chosen, Newman says, to test himself. And his latest part is no different. After 25 years, the hustler, Fast Eddie Felson, returns. He's still looking for the big score, but this time around, in The Color of Money, Fast Eddie is staking his bankroll on a young, sharp pool player played by Tom Cruise.
Hey, Carmen, you should have seen Eddie play last night.
Are we going to make some money today, or am I still talking to Our Lady of the Cue Ball?
We'll make some money. Definitely. I'm a wild man today.
You ever hear of a hustle called Two Brothers and a Stranger?
Yeah, that's the guy in the Bible with the many-colored coats, right? Oh. Hey, I'm joking, you guys. Come on. I'm just...
Did I get through to you last night, kid? Because if I didn't, I'll run it by you another way. If you'd have kicked ass in any other place but Chalky's, Atlantic City would be dead for us. The guys never leave the street. Otherwise, it would be all around.
Hey, let me tell you something. Last night, you know, people never talked to me like that before. You really talked to me. And I just want you to know that I appreciate it. And
Okay.
I want to thank you, for everything.
Was it hard to resurrect that character after so much time had passed?
No, it was embarrassingly easy. And it was, the only reason I say it was easy is that the whole sense of the craft and what I've learned in 25 years makes it much easier to go straight to the spine of something, and you don't have to whistle around with a lot of extraneous, wasted effort, and I suppose that's what time and work does. It's easy. That was a great experience. That was all the people together that contributed that. That's as good a community experience as I've ever had.
Newman's acting experiences go back to childhood, but his professional breakthrough began when he enrolled in Yale Drama School back in 1950. He never graduated because, as he says, he got lucky. More than 3 decades later, that luck, or craft, has made the actor into a movie star, and that makes Newman uncomfortable.
I had hoped, I suppose, that I would always be thought of as an actor, and I think some other people got in the way of that, but it had nothing to do with what I was aiming toward.
What do you mean by that?
And I never aimed toward being a movie star.
What did you want to be?
An actor.
What made you a movie star?
Being an actor, I hope.
But there's something, you have the whole sex appeal issue. I mean, that you're saying that's what made you the movie star. Is that a burden? I guess that's what the question I'm working at. Is that a burden?
It's a filthy job, but somebody has to do it. What can I say? That's the thing that people have to understand is an actor is an actor. He plays a character. The playwright creates that character for him. The playwright puts all those sexy lines and all those sexy attitudes in his head. It has nothing to do with the human being. It may have something to do with the actor, but it doesn't have anything to do with the human being. And I mean, I would like to think of myself as being terribly rakish, and but that's. I don't have a screenwriter handy all the time to think of all those great lines for me, so that's why I spend all my time in the kitchen. There are a lot of irritating things about being a public figure, especially if you're a very private person. I envy the public people, the people who have become public figures who are also public people. They bask in that kind of environment, and they love it, and it makes their lives a lot easier than it makes my life. And I'm very envious of them. I'm not, I certainly don't put that kind of person down. I certainly wish I could be that way, but I can't.
Would you say you're shy?
Oh, shucks, ma'am. Nothing like that.
Shyness, the desire for privacy, whatever it is, it hasn't gotten in his way, especially in the fast-moving world of auto racing. Newman on the track when we return. Paul Newman says he likes to keep himself off balance and that he hates being bored, especially by himself. Now that affects how he chooses his film roles and why he started his food business. And it's also why he got into auto racing. For nearly 15 years, he's been testing himself on the track, almost always against younger drivers, and he's been winning. Driving a red, white, and blue Nissan, he's favored to win the national championship in the Sports Car Club of America GT1 class for the 2nd straight year. And in August, he took the checkered flag, first place in the Bendix Trans Am at Lime Rock. What is your next goal on the racetrack?
Well, I'm probably thinking of how I can get out of this gracefully, but and I guess I will if I start going slower, but I'm hanging in there by my fingernails now. I don't know. I am smart enough to know about what my limitations are, and I think that car is about as far as I can go sensibly.
I seem to hear you say that you may be retiring, or you're slowing down a bit?
Well, no, that's the problem. I'd retire if I was slowing down, but I'm not slowing down. I mean, I thought I'd be out of racing 5 years ago. But it just hasn't turned out that way.
But you had a close call last month. In fact, we reported on our news that you were going around the curve at Lime Rock and the track was wet and spun out of control. What happened?
The rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated.
I can see that. But what happened?
Whatever always happens is just a massive onslaught of stupidity.
In other words, you were going too fast for the curve?
Just going too fast for the wet, yeah.
Acting, racing, all successes for Newman, and yet there's more, a more private success that Newman watchers like to acknowledge, his 28-year marriage to actress Joanne Woodward. In a business where divorce is always in style, the Woodward-Newman marriage is something of a legend, and Newman's reason for the success? Believe it if you dare.
I make all the big decisions, and Joanne makes all the little decisions.
You may get in trouble for that.
No, it's very simple. For instance, if there's some discussion as to which coast we live on, the East Coast or the West Coast, I simply defer to her because that's not a very important decision. Or where the kids go to school, or if I like a script and she doesn't like the script, then I don't do the script because it's not important about things like that. And if she wants to buy a house or sell a house, then that's her decision. I don't get involved in stuff like that because I make the big decisions, like whether China gets into the United Nations. So that's a very simple way. She goes on through life making all these simple, irrelevant decisions, and I make the big decisions. And so we've been very comfortable.
Tongue-in-cheek or not, Newman does approach things with a blend of irreverence and seriousness. How that fits into everything he does when we return. As I said earlier, Paul Newman wanted to talk with us about the Hole in the Wall Gang, his camp for terminally ill children in Ashford. It's a personal project that he's made public, partly because he needs to raise $4 million to match the money he's already put into the camp on his own. He's modest about his contribution, which actually is far greater than the money. And even after all those years as an actor, he still finds it difficult to accept praise. I want to read something to you that was in the paper today. This is in the a letter to the editor, and the title of this letter is "Paul Newman Provides a Haven." I'm sure that on the day that Paul Newman announced his plan for a camp in Ashford for terminally ill children, there was a standing ovation in heaven by the angels who were once terminally ill children on earth. Only they can truly appreciate the greatness of Newman's endeavor. On earth, those children had to fit into the daily world of healthy children without solace for themselves. There was no haven for them to go to where it was all right to be sick. There was no place to put medicines, needles, hospitals, and the tears behind them to replace them with sunshine, laughter, and smiles. Some of that applause in heaven would have been from my son, Nicky. He was once a terminally ill child with nowhere to go to have fun and still be sick, and I'm sure he approves of Newman's efforts. Signed, Angela Easter, Enfield, Connecticut.
Well, it says it all, doesn't it? There's nothing that you add to that.
Does it make you want to open the camp yesterday?
Well, it certainly does that, and but I don't know. I think in the most remote part of my senses, it's something that is almost automatic. I don't see how people take things from a society like we have without wanting to return something. And especially if you're as privileged and as lucky as I am, then it seems as though the impulse to do that is almost irresistible.
And Newman wants that impulse to ripple out and encourage giving. He set up a special fund, the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp Fund, Post Office Box 47, Westport, Connecticut, 06880. Will the camp succeed? Newman does seem to have a golden touch. His films, his racing, his food business. What is his key to success?
Part of it is being a terrier, but I think most of it is being irresponsible. If you think really too carefully and too closely about risk, then I suspect you don't really attack much. Attack being the key word. And so I have to sort out the difference between being irresponsible and being grown up and being immature and being willing to accept risk.
Risk, talent, drive. It's all work for Newman. He's still making the covers of national magazines. And as for his camp, we'll check out the progress of its development and be there when the first kids arrive. I hope you've enjoyed this unique opportunity to meet one of our most popular actors and Connecticut residents. I'm Denise D'Ascenzo. Have a good evening.